Okay, let me repeat what I said earlier. Okay, um, for this project, when I showed the demo, that was just a reference implementation. You can actually design, there's no standard format about how many classes you need to define for each of the class, what information need to be there. It just happened to be, I reused the person.h and CPP, which inherit from core.h and CPP. That's why those two classes are there for my implementation. That was the only class I reused. So for this homework assignment, you don't need to use those classes that like I define. So it's completely free for you to design your own classes which match with the object concept from the JSON. Okay. Having said that, when I reuse the person.cpp and person.h, I did make the change. I didn't change core.h and core.cpp, but I changed person.h because I add a new function, dumpj. And for person.cpp, I also add the implementation for dumpj. That's pretty much everything I did with person.cpp and person.h. Okay, so for that, for the Jenny, the other Jenny is asking, do you need to use a vector that show in the lecture video in post.h? You don't have to. You can use traditional array to do that. That's fine with me. It's a reference implementation. I think you need to have some concept to represent an vector and array of objects. So I use vector, but equivalently, you can use array as well, the traditional array. You don't have to use object. So which means that the post.h is also a reference. So you can define your own post.h, whatever will fit your preference about how to construct an object. So I do want to say that for all the objects I constructed, the most complicated are probably post.h and CPP, because post is huge, and comment.cpp and comment.h is also more significant than compared to others. Reaction or links or action, those are very simple. Yes, you don't have to use pointer in any of the implementation. You don't have to use that. We don't require you to do that. Yeah. The correctness criteria for homework assignment number 5 are the following. Number 1, you have a JSON coming in, and you basically process put into the objects, and then you revert back the object, construct a JSON, in such that that JSON is going to be the same as the JSON you input. That's basically part 1 of homework assignment number 5. So what we are going to check on you are 2 things. Number 1, we're checking whether your input output match each other. And number 2, we're going to check is whether you define a set of classes that make sense. I mean, for example, this will prevent people just take the JSON in and just print exactly the same output, which defeat the purpose of doing this homework. Okay, that's part 1. And part 2 is essentially you take 2 JSON, and which you do the same thing. You kind of parse them into the object world, And for example, you have a one JSON represent the original one, but the other JSON had a new comment. It's a new comment, and therefore you're going to add this comment in the object world to the post. And then when you dump J for the whole post, you will see a new JSON that has an extra comment. So that's what we're going to do. But detail how you're going to use pointer or reference, or you're going to use whatever .h and .cpp is your decision. You can decide what you like to do. Okay, any other question for homework 5? I'm actually watching the chat. You can either speak up or you can actually post your question on the chat. Okay, I'm going to first stop the recording.